Hello, Virgo, and welcome to your Hidden Truth Tarot reading. Welcome to Virgo.
Um, you've been feeling a particular type of attention lately, haven't you? Not just casual interest, but something more consuming, more exclusive. Like you're occupying space in someone's world that doesn't leave much room for anything else. Let me share what I'm witnessing in the invisible territory around you right now. The first thing surfacing is the sensation you might be having of being held in someone's awareness with unusual intensity. You could be experiencing the weight of someone's concentration directed at you in ways that feel almost tangible, like there's a beam of focus trained on you that you can sense even when you're not physically together. You might be noticing that you feel observed, considered, prioritized in someone's mental and emotional real estate. And that sustained attention is creating a pressure you're responding to, whether you've consciously named it or not. Here's what you could be registering in your day-to-day reality. You might be experiencing someone whose availability seems remarkably aligned with yours, whose schedule mysteriously accommodates opportunities to be near you, whose priorities appear to reorganize themselves around your presence. You could be observing attention to details about your preferences, your routines, your emotional states that suggest you're being studied with care. You might be noticing that this person seems unusually attuned to your moods, responsive to your needs, aware of shifts in your energy, and this attunement speaks to how much mental real estate you're occupying for them. What's becoming visible in the arrangement of energies around you is that you could be dealing with someone who's experiencing a kind of tunnel vision where you're concerned. You might be sensing that other options, other people, other possibilities seem to fade into background noise when you're available or present. You could be picking up on someone who's naturally social or friendly with others, becoming noticeably more selective about where they invest their time and attention. And that selectivity seems to correlate directly with maximizing their access to you. This reflection invites you to consider how it feels in your body to be the subject of this kind of concentrated regard, and whether you're experiencing it as flattering, overwhelming, or some complex mixture of both. You might be noticing possessive undertones in how this person relates to you and your other connections. You could be picking up on subtle discomfort from them when you mention time spent with others, or an edge that enters their energy when someone else seems to claim your attention. You might be experiencing questions that seem casual but carry a subtext of wanting to map your availability, your loyalties, your emotional investments, and these inquiries reveal someone who's tracking where they stand in your hierarchy of importance with more anxiety than they probably want you to know about. What's rippling through the space between you is that you could be sensing someone who's imagining a version of connection with you that's more exclusive than what currently exists. You might be picking up on energy that wants partnership, commitment, a claiming of each other that goes beyond the ambiguity of your present arrangement. You could be experiencing someone who's entertaining futures where your time, your affection, your daily life are woven entirely with theirs. And while they might not be voicing these visions, the yearning for that kind of merger is bleeding through in how they show up around you. What's particularly striking about what I'm seeing is that you might be dealing with someone who's struggling with their own intensity. You could be picking up on moments where they pull back, create distance, become suddenly unavailable, not because their focus on you has diminished, but because it's frightening them with its scope. You might be sensing someone who's unused to feeling this consumed by another person who's grappling with how much power you seem to have over their emotional equilibrium. And their attempts to regain balance by withdrawing are actually evidence of how thoroughly you've disrupted their usual patterns. You might be experiencing contradictory signals that confuse you. You could be picking up on intense connection followed by inexplicable coolness, deep engagement followed by sudden unavailability. What's threading beneath these oscillations is someone who's caught between the pull they feel toward you and discomfort with their own lack of control over that pull. And watching them navigate that internal conflict is giving you whiplash because the external behavior doesn't match the consistent undercurrent of fixation you're sensing. What's emanating from the relational field is that you could be experiencing someone who's mentally rehearsing conversations about exclusivity. You might be sensing energy around defining what you are to each other, around establishing boundaries with others to protect what's developing between you, around making explicit what's been implicit. You could be picking up on someone who's waiting for the right moment, the right words, the right level of security before initiating discussions about commitment. But the desire to lock down your connection, to remove ambiguity, to claim you in ways that feel official is already active in them. This reflection invites you to consider whether you share the desire for the kind of exclusive arrangement this person seems to be gravitating toward, or whether their intensity is asking you to clarify boundaries you need to maintain. You might be noticing that this person's emotional weather seems directly tied to how you're showing up with them. You could be experiencing someone whose mood, whose energy, whose entire demeanor brightens dramatically when you're accessible and dims when you're not. You might be picking up on how much your responses to them seem to matter, how closely they're tracking whether you're warm or distant, engaged or distracted. And this responsiveness to your slightest shifts reveals how central you've become to their sense of well-being. What's also surfacing is that you could be dealing with someone who's comparing everyone else to you and finding others lacking. You might be sensing that interactions they have with other potential romantic interests feel hollow or incomplete to them now. You could be picking up on someone who's lost interest in pursuing other options, not because they're unavailable, but because those options aren't you. And this narrowing of their field of attraction onto you specifically is creating the quality of focus you're experiencing. The blueprint I'm reading suggests you might be observing protective instincts emerging in this person around you. You could be picking up on someone who's quick to defend you in conversations, who's sensitive to criticism of you, who seems invested in your reputation or your well-being in ways that go beyond casual friendship. You might be experiencing someone who's positioning themselves as an advocate, an ally, a protector, and these roles they're assuming speak to an identity investment in you that signals deep personal attachment. What's interesting is that you might be sensing this person monitoring your other relationships with a level of attention that borders on surveillance. You could be picking up on awareness of who you spend time with, who contacts you, who seems interested in you, awareness that suggests they're paying closer attention to your social landscape than someone casually interested would. You might be experiencing subtle or overt attempts to position themselves as your primary emotional connection, to be the first person you turn to, the main recipient of your time and trust, the relationship that supersedes others. This reflection invites you to consider Whether the exclusivity this person seems to desire feels like devotion you'd welcome or constraint you'd need to resist, and what that distinction reveals about your own desires. You might be noticing that this person's version of love or interest expresses itself through wanting to know everything about you. You could be experiencing extensive curiosity about your past, your family, your dreams, your fears, questions that go deeper than small talk, that seem designed to map your interior landscape comprehensively. You might be picking up on someone who's collecting information, not just to make conversation, but to truly understand you, to build a complete picture of who you are so they can fit themselves into your life more seamlessly. What's pulsing through the connective tissue between you is that you could be sensing someone who's already made decisions internally that they haven't voiced externally. You might be dealing with someone who's clear privately about wanting you exclusively, about seeing long-term potential, about organizing their life to accommodate a future that includes you centrally, but who's waiting for external conditions or internal courage to catch up before declaring these private certainties. You could be picking up on the gap between their internal commitment and their external caution. And that gap is what's creating the mixed messages you're trying to interpret. The resonance I'm detecting suggests you might be experiencing someone who's possessive in thought, even if not yet in action. You could be sensing energy that wants to claim you, to establish territory, to signal to others that you're spoken for even before formal agreements exist between you. You might be picking up on jealousy that surfaces when your attention goes elsewhere, satisfaction when you prioritize them, anxiety when your availability feels uncertain is less than #0, 5# is greater than. And these emotional responses reveal someone who's already relating to you as though you belong together, even if the relationship hasn't been defined that way explicitly. What's also coming through is that you might be dealing with someone who's fantasizing about merging lives with you in concrete ways. You could be sensing energy around living situations, around meeting important people in each other's worlds, around integrating routines and rhythms. You might be picking up on someone who's mentally arranging furniture, planning trips, imagining domestic scenarios, someone who's moved far beyond wondering if you're compatible and into actively designing what partnership would look like in practical terms. This reflection invites you to consider how ready you actually are for the level of entanglement. This person's focus suggests they're desiring, and whether your hesitation is about them specifically or about intimacy at this scale generally. You might be experiencing this person's intensity as both thrilling and slightly claustrophobic. You could be enjoying feeling prioritized, cherished, held as precious in someone's awareness, while simultaneously feeling the weight of being so central to another person's emotional ecosystem. You might be navigating the balance between wanting to be chosen and needing space to breathe. And this navigation is made more complex by sensing that any pulling back from you could devastate someone who's invested this deeply. What I'm witnessing in the relational dynamics is that you could be dealing with someone who's experiencing loving you and wanting to own you as intertwined impulses. You might be picking up on care that verges into control, on devotion that edges toward dependence, on admiration that includes elements of consumption. You could be sensing someone who wants to be everything to you, partly because they want you to be everything to them, and unpacking what's healthy devotion versus unhealthy enmeshment in what you're experiencing requires honest examination of both their patterns and your own needs. So, as you sit with this awareness of being so profoundly centered in someone's focus, notice what that provokes in you You might be experiencing validation, desire, reciprocal interest stirring in response to being wanted this intensely. Or you could be feeling wariness, pressure, the instinct to establish boundaries before something consensual becomes something smothering. Both responses contain important information about what you want, about what you're ready for, about whether this person's way of loving aligns with how you want to be loved. Trust what you're sensing about the depth and exclusivity of this person's focus on you. Trust that the possessive quality you're detecting is real, that the desire for commitment you're reading beneath surface interactions is accurate, and also trust yourself to be honest about whether receiving that kind of singular devotion feels nourishing or depleting, whether being someone's primary focus sounds like partnership or burden. You get to want this. You also get to need something different. What matters is that you're clear with yourself first, then honest with them about where you actually stand in response to the intensity they're directing at you. They're focused on you. That part is true. What you do with that truth, how you meet it, redirect it, or decline it, that's entirely your choice to make.